To value someone is to apply worth to their life, or to them as a person in general. So to value is to apply worth. Keep that definition in mind as we look at this question. Do you value, apply worth to individuals who differ from you in politics, religion, social class, nationality, ethnicity, culture, complexion, health, generation, education, sexuality, gender, behavior, and criminal record? If we are honest with ourselves, there's at least one of those things in which we're like, yep, I kind of missed the mark there. And here's the funny thing. When we have a view of Jesus, the biblical Jesus, the historical Jesus, we see that Jesus differed from us in many of these ways. Politically, he was not liberal nor conservative. Religion, he grew up in the Judaism, the Jewish religion, but he came for a relationship, teaching people what it means to have a relationship with God and with others. Social class, he was poor, very poor. From birth, even as an adult. He said the Son of Man pretty much has nowhere to lay his head, so he was homeless. Nationality, he was from Nazareth. He was a Nazarene. Ethnicity, Jewish. Culture, Jewish. Complexion, and this is where we struggle from our Western context because we've been influenced by a Eurocentric way of seeing our Christianity, so we think that Jesus is white, but he was brown skinned at the very least. So, first century, Middle Eastern, Jewish person, that is the complexion he was. Health, perfect health as far as we know. Generation, he's eternal. He began from the beginning, Alpha and Omega, so he just surpassed his generation. Education, was not formally educated. Sexuality, we see he upholded a biblical worldview on that. Gender, male. Behavior, perfect. And criminal record, spotless. Why do we call this? Because Jesus differed from us in many ways, but yet we value him, amen? Oh, y'all were quiet on that. See, we haven't got to the tough part of the sermon, so let's try this again. We value Jesus, amen? Amen. Amen. So when we value Jesus, we also want to value others. So we apply value to our own lives, but let's see and strive to see how we can apply value to the lives of everyone. Everyone. Because I don't think we honestly do in our thought, words, and deeds. Because the love of God, love people, and live out obedience to the commandment we're covering today requires us to value each life. So as we continue our sermon series of loving God, loving people, we are diving back into the Ten Commandments. And this Sunday, we're seeing that valuing someone plays a big role, a significant role in how we live out today's commandment to be covered. Because a Christ-centered view of life directs us to see that every life should be valued as we love God and love people. Amen? So before we get to how we value life, we must remember why we must value each life. We value each life from the womb to the tomb because every person is made in God's image. Male and female, every human being is an image bearer of God. That means a person doesn't have to do anything to be considered of value. As Christians, we believe God is triune. It's a Trinity, right? Father, Son, and Spirit. Now, out of that Trinity, only one person actually has a physical body. That's Jesus. And we already kind of discussed how we don't all share Jesus' physical features. So then what does it mean to be made in God's image? There are two things. One, it means that as an image bearer of God, we have some of the capabilities of God, such as morality, compassion, love, intellect. That is just to name a few. But the other one that deals with what we're talking about today, being God's image, being image bearer of God, means that every single person has value. Whether you personally know the individual or not, that person has value. Whether they're the most wicked human being in the world or the most kind human being in the world, each person has value. Why? Because each person is made in God's image. So as Christians, if we value God, then we're going to value those who are made in God's image. Amen? Amen. So knowing that each person has value is important, but knowing how we devalue people is just as important. One of the greatest ways devalue someone is through murder, the physical taking of someone's life. And today's commandment, Exodus 20:13, calls us to not murder. Now here's the thing that I always don't like about preaching on this text. It's very easy for us to mentally check out when we see this verse. Why? Because as far as I know, hopefully this is true, I don't have a whole bunch of people here going around taking people's lives, amen? Nobody's physically killing one another, so when people see this like, oh, don't murder, okay, I'm good, that doesn't apply to me, I'm fine, I would never do that, so I can just kind of ignore this sermon and everybody else, y'all can pay attention. However, human beings are more than just physical. We're also mental, emotional, and spiritual beings. And when we look through Christ, when we see how Christ explains what does it mean to value or murder someone, we gain this expanded, this deep, and convicting view of what does it mean to devalue someone and what does it mean to murder. So now let's turn to see how Christ explains what does it mean to not murder or what murder looks like and devalue someone. So here are some ways in which we devalue life. And Christ parallels each one of these to murder. The first is anger. Now this one always needs to be explained because every one of us get angry. And there are some things that are considered righteous anger. So for instance, if you see injustice, if you see human suffering, when you see cruel acts and that stirs frustration and anger in your heart, that's righteous anger. Because that's an anger that reflects the anger that God has. God does not enjoy the presence and sight of evil. So those things are righteous. Now, unrighteous anger kind of comes from when you're being bitter towards someone, unforgiving, or hypercritical. You elevate yourself to a certain moral standard, and when people are not living up to it and you become a little frustrated, that's unrighteous anger. And these forms of anger devalues an image bearer of God. Insults here, Matthew 5:22. So in many texts you'll see the word raka. And raka in Jesus' day was an insult that meant that someone was empty-headed. It was a way of saying that person just has like no value at all. It was very dismissive and demeaning. So here's something that many of us don't know. When it comes to our human brain, it processes pain roughly the same way. Which means if you're physically hit, your brain obviously processes as pain, and then it sends a signal to your body to show, or so you can feel where the pain originated from. But when somebody verbally insults you, and it mentally, emotionally hurt you, your brain once again just processes pain. You just kind of feel it in a different way at that point. So for your brain, pain is pain. It doesn't matter if it comes physically or emotionally. So when we insult people, it's causing pain. And though our society says use insults to shame people and to change, it devalues an image bearer of God. The form of condemnation you see there in the scriptures, or cursing, many times in other translations you'll see you fool. And that was once again it was just a way of saying you have no godliness in you, you have no morality in you, and you're an idiot. It encompasses all those things. It pretty much just tells the person, you are nothing. So condemnation or cursing in this sense completely devalues someone, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. People are imperfect. People are. It's just a reality. But just because they're imperfect does not give us a right to devalue an image bearer of God. The last one I don't like, to be honest. If you look at Mark 3, 1 through 4, you see this moment where there's a person with a deformed hand, and Jesus has an opportunity to heal them. The Pharisee says, oh, don't do it because they're caught in religious legalism, saying it's a Sabbath, you cannot do that. And then when you read the text, you see Jesus says something that just blows me away. He says, is it in essence right to do good or evil? And then he says, is it in essence to save life or kill life? Save life or kill life. Some other translations will say the word destroy. And I'm thinking, Jesus, this person has a deformed hand. It doesn't seem fatal. Why would you say, in essence, to heal this person is a matter of saving life, or to not heal him is a matter of killing him? Why? Because when we see human suffering, when we see someone struggling, when we see someone in pain, and we decide to turn a blind eye and keep going, it's like we've killed that individual. We've crushed their spirits. We've not given them hope. We've not given them joy. We have not provided a way to make their life just a fraction better. So to see suffering and to do nothing about it, the way Jesus looked at it, that's pretty much as if I killed the person. Whew. Takes my breath breath away every time I think about it. Now, it may seem fair to us to see how anger, insults, condemnation, and neglect of someone is devalued. Like, okay, that's fine. We can live with that. But it may seem unfair to us to see how these things can equate to a sense of murder. So there's two things I want us to keep in mind. Number one is that when someone physically murders, like they're physically taking someone's life, killing someone's life, right? Well, in our anger, insults, condemnation, and neglect of someone, we are killing their life, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Number two, so murder, when someone is murdered, that person's existence ceases. It is now taken away, right? Well, when we are angry with someone, our thoughts, our words, or our actions, when we insult someone, when we condemn someone, or when we neglect someone, it communicates to them as if we wish they didn't exist, or that they do not exist, in a way that existence ends when someone is murdered. Now, I didn't do this in the first service, but I'm going to do this now. Let's all take a deep breath. Let's exhale out. Now, when we feel the weight of our sin and feel the weight of this truth, don't just run away, but let's look to the cross and thank God that He still provides forgiveness through the cross, though we murder. Amen? And what I love about God, what I love about the salvation plan is that the Lord was able to bring good out of evil because Jesus experienced people being angry with Him, people insulting Him, people condemning Him, and people neglecting Him to the cross. But God used that cross so that way when we sin, when we're guilty of murder or anything else, we can look to the cross and know that our sin was nailed to that cross as well. That He provides forgiveness for us no matter what we have done in the past, no matter what we're wrestling with now, or what we will do in the future. There's still forgiveness at that old, rugged, bloody cross. Amen? Amen. And then also we need to take comfort in knowing that when we have been a victim of someone's anger, insults, condemnation, or neglect, there is a God who is slow to anger and quick to mercy, who loves you. There is a God who doesn't insult you but wants to comfort you. There's a God who doesn't condemn you but says, I want you to be mine. There's a God who doesn't neglect you but is concerned and considerate with every form of your suffering. God is good, amen? Amen. So when we feel deep sorrow, either because we've sinned or we feel the consequences of someone else's sin, let's look to God. And in God there's a fullness of joy and peace. So though this is all bad news, once again, Jesus, through His life, death, and resurrection, brings us hope. And we thank God that though we are guilty of murder and the like, it's not about our good deeds. It's about Jesus' good deeds and how He provides forgiveness for us, though we struggle. So, in addition to knowing that each person has value and our human life is devalued, we must also see ways in how we prevent devaluing an image bearer of God. So here's hopefully you find this to be very practical. Instead of anger, practice Christian patience. Instead of anger, practice Christian patience. This is one of my favorite passages in the Bible, James 1:19. It says to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to get angry. But here's the thing. We tend to do the opposite in reverse. We're quick to get angry, we're quick to speak because we're upset, so we want to tell that person a piece of our mind, and we're slow to listen. There was a moment I had recently where a college friend, he posted something on Facebook, and I read it, and I was heated. I was so upset, and I wanted to give him a piece of my mind. And I was going to post it right in the comments, but I talked to Danielle, and I was going to need someone who was at that moment more calm than I was, and the Spirit began to talk to me, and just, once again, James 1:19. And so I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So I reached out in a private message and just kind of shared with him some of my frustrations. And we had a nice, healthy conversation. And by God's grace, it ended very peacefully. And he understood where I was coming from. But it was because I chose, by God's grace, by the power of the Spirit, to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Christian patience. Let's practice that more often. Amen? Amen. All right. Instead of insults, practice Christian empathy. To empathize someone, in essence, to put yourself in that person's shoes. And so Jesus says, treat others as the way you want to be treated. And we all have, there may be some pretty thick-skinned people here, but if we're honest with ourselves, there's at least one insult that when it's thrown our way, ooh, it crushes us. Just deflates us. It could be various things. It could be an insult about your gender, about your age, about your health, about your intellect, about your income, about your morality, about your ethnicity, about your culture. Sometimes all it takes is one insult that we hear, and just like our whole day is ruined. So think about that before you throw an insult to someone else, whether it be in Facebook, whether it be in a text, whether it be verbally. Think about, okay, that time when someone said this insult and I just felt awful. Do I want to do this to someone else? Even if I feel like it may be justifiable, do I still want to do this to someone else? Let's treat others the way we want to be treated. Let's practice Christian empathy instead of insults. Amen? Amen. All right. Instead of condemnation, practice Christian sympathy. So sympathy is not quite like empathy, where we're not necessarily feel like we're in somebody else's shoes, but we understand and have a care for their situation. How does this relate to condemnation? Well, we're going to come across with people that, yes, are wicked or various things that just do not match our personal standards. When we look at God's standards, we realize that we deserve God's wrath. But yet God gave us grace and mercy. So when you're thinking about wanting to condemn someone and just say, you're just such a godless, immoral, fill in the blank, just give them your wrath. Think about the fact that God should have gave you his wrath, but you didn't get what you deserve. You got what you don't deserve, and that's mercy and grace. So let's learn to practice Christian sympathy before running to condemn someone. Amen? Amen. Last one. Instead of neglect, let's practice Christian compassion. In 1 John 3:18, it talks about how if we're going to love someone, let's not do it just in words, but also our action. There's a moment in which I experienced as a pastor in my former congregation, in which one of the congregation members asked me to go visit her father-in-law, who was not doing too well. And she let me know, like, oh, well, he's from Arkansas, just give you a heads up, and the person's Caucasian. Just give you a heads up that, he's going to say the N-word from time to time, but that's just how he is, so don't think, pretty much don't worry about it. And for our East African brothers and sisters who are here, so the N-word referring to a derogatory term towards an African-American person. I'm not going to say it, but basically it's a very terrible thing to say, if you're not aware of what I'm talking about. And so that killed me. That really did. Because basically what she's saying is that though I know what this person is saying, who's my relative, what he's saying is hurtful and evil and awful, I'm not going to hold that person accountable. I'm going to neglect this because it's easy for me to just say, you just deal with the pain. She should have just offered compassion and say, look, this is our pastor. I know you have the tendency to say this, but it's disrespectful to him, so I would like you not to say this. So let's expand this, because I think in any situation, we've been in situations where we witness someone who may have been teased, bullied, discriminated against, something derogatory said to them, or the like, whether it be on social media, in public, or in private, and sometimes, because it's much easier to just say, that's their business, I'm going to let them handle it. That's easy to do. That kills that person. So men, if you're at a job and you see one of your female colleagues who are being sexually harassed, don't just say, oh, I hope things get better. Report it. Adults, if we can clearly see and know that a child is being abused at home or somewhere, don't just say, oh, that's bad. Try to do something about it. If you see someone who is being degraded just because of their ethnicity or culture, don't be like, well, I know I didn't feel that way about you. No, hold that person accountable, especially if it's a family member or friend, and say, this is not godly. This, at the very least, even if the person's not a Christian, this is unloving. I will not accept this, at least in my presence. That's showing compassion. At the very least, my wife had to correct me that even if you feel like you can't do something, at the very least, listen to a person and don't dismiss their pain and say, well, I don't see it that way, because that's killing to them as well. So let's practice Christian compassion instead of neglect. Amen? That's a lot, right? It's a lot. But God is good, and God equips us with ways in which we can love God, because once again, if we love God, we're also going to love those made in his image. Let's begin to close up with this passage. So I don't typically use the Message translation in my sermons, but this rendition of this passage was spot on. I mean, it was just beautiful, magnificent. And it says in 1 John 4:21 in the Message Bible, if anyone boasts, I love God and goes right on hating his brother or sister, thinking nothing of it, is a liar. If he won't love the person he can see, how can he love the God he can't see? So before I go to the second part, let's look at this. So the word hate is not always the way in which we're thinking. Yes, it can be hostility, but it can also be kind of this dismissiveness, this just neglect, if you will. And in brother or sister, the context of this passage is referring to the church. So this is referring to brothers and sisters in Christ. But there's common ground we can see with all people. Why? Because every person is an image bearer of God. So we can't go and say, I love God, but then are selective or not loving to image bearers of God. Those are permanently together. They are locked hand in hand. And then finishing on, and this is where, like I said, mic drop, he could have just been done. This was beautiful. But I think Eugene Peterson's person wrote the Message translation. So he finishes this passage with saying, the command we have from Christ is blunt. Loving God includes loving people. You've got to love both. It's not an either or, it's an and both. We love God. We're also going to love people. Jesus lived, died, and resurrected out of love for God, the Father, and love for image bearers of God. And Christianity claims to love God while not making any efforts to love image bearers of God is not Christianity at all. Do you value each life? God the Father, Son, and Spirit is concerned with giving, sustaining, and saving life. Therefore, we who claim to be Christians and reflections of God the Father, Son, and Spirit seek to prevent any literal or metaphorical murder while seeking to value each life through our thoughts, our words, and our deeds by giving life, in uplifting people, by saving life, doing what we can to prevent further harm, and by sustaining life. At the very least, just saying, I'm going to do life with you. You're not in this by yourself. Why? Because every person is an image bearer of God, as are you. God loves you. God saves you, even when you commit murder. And God has given us a great opportunity to go out and be his hands and feet and provide healing and hope to those who have been victims of murder themselves. Literally or metaphorically. Amen?